Start recording on OBS. Okay.
I don't know.
Go to Facebook.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
What did I mean when I wrote Tunnel of Love? I'm trying to...
I wonder if we're getting recorded at this point.
Yep.
We are? Good. Pre-show.
Yeah. Oh, we need a title.
Okay, I wrote one down.
Okay.
Wow. Hold up. That is almost being prepared.
Please. What?
Yeah.
The one you circled?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'll find out when it goes up on the board, which is how this entire show works.
Oh, boy.
You preparing would ruin everything.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
All right. And description?
Oh, I think I wrote something down below that. But I thought you were going to do the Apple, the AI is going to automatically.
Yeah, but that's when we upload to Podbean.
Okay, well, there you go. I've got a description there, too.
Okay.
Well, I can't see what's getting ready.
You don't need
Okay. Oh, that's fine.
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
It's a lot about colon cancer pre-screening. Pretty much all. That's all. It is.
Man.
So it's educational.
Yeah, go with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Daniel's quite the typer, isn't he?
Yeah. Right. All right. Do we want to tag anybody else? Nope. Okay. Okay. Now we
Those notes. That's
Oh,
got
yes.
the show on it.
Wow.
Thank you, brother.
stream, sir, and we're able to go live now. Let me do this here. Currently. Okay. Good. 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 All right, we're green on everything. We're green on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, OBS. We're going to start recording on the mixer in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to Dave Talks Some More, a podcast at the intersection of humor and, Hey, I'm your host, Dave, and together we'll explore a riveting world of mundane topics with unparalleled indifference. So get ready for a riveting journey through, whatever. This is Dave Talks Some More. All right, far out. Thank you for joining us. Thrilled to say it is now show number 10. I never thought that we would hit this mark. If we don't crash and burn in the next 59 minutes, we'll actually get through 10 episodes. I feel good about that.
We didn't get through 10 episodes before I coughed right in the theme song
Yeah, well,
thing. But what's worse, the theme song or a grown man coughing?
Well, as long as you don't turn your head while you do it, you're going to be okay. We always start with a little bit of show talk. It's been a weird week as far as the show goes because you've got two crusty old farts who really don't know much about technology or social media or anything. And suddenly we're seeing ourselves on TikTok and Facebook and maybe Instagram, and I'm not sure what else. And I have to say, I find it to be a little bit disconcerting. I'm not complaining, but it's...
It sounded like complaining.
Well, I'll put it like this. When the first reel that got posted was you, I felt good about it. One of them, it turns out, was me. And, of course, because I'm the way that I am, I thought, my God, is my face really that fat? Forget about what I said or the content or anything. I literally took a picture of it to inspire me to stop eating garbage, because I thought, my God, is that really how I look? To have a face like that every day, that's literally what my take was.
Such a girl. No wonder you brought up Barbie movie last time.
Wow.
Well,
Look,
we're starting off right.
Are you sure
right
you
hooks
want to
right
go,
out of the bat?
yeah, are you sure you want to go back into last week's topics? Because I got them all here. I got them all in the show notes. We can go back there.
We're moving along.
Or we can move along. I can say happy birthday, congratulations. Do you want to share the number, or do we just want to say happy birthday?
Thank you for the happy birthday.
Do you feel old?
Yes.
Do you feel older?
Yes.
Feel broke down?
Yes.
How are you sleeping?
I mean, I'm old. So, I mean, this is kind of, the last topic we talked about last week was the colonoscopy. So, yeah, I know.
I
brought
swear
it
to
back
God,
up.
I cannot believe I cannot
That-
believe
Within
you
4
brought that
minutes.
up. Yeah, you're obsessed with it.
Oh, wow. I don't know that.
Is it too late to change the show title?
I do not want to be labeled as being obsessed with colonoscopies, but I'll just note that that's kind of a
No,
barometer.
your colonoscopy.
Well, there you go. Well, it's a kind of a metric to determine the age. That's all I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 50. I turned 51. I tried to squeeze in that colonoscopy at age 50 because the doctor told me to. So I turned 51. So I'm old and I feel it.
Well, let me offer you a different metric, which is the how are you sleeping question, which is that's going to be foremost on your mind for, until the day you die, is going to be, how can I sleep? How can I get some more sleep? And you're going to start doing the old guy. I'm just a prediction. You're going to start doing the old guy thing called, you go to bed at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock because you're just so exhausted, which is sad. And then you're going to wake up, and I mean wake up where, if only you could do brain surgery. I mean, you were that alert and awake at 2 a.m. And then it's going to be, how long is it going to take for me to fall back asleep? And the answer is about 90 minutes before it's time to wake up. That will, and it will be the sweetest, best sleep ever. And then your phone or whatever your alarm clock is goes off, and you're going to feel like somebody hit you over the head with a hammer. So get ready for that. That's the treat awaiting you.
Really?
Yeah. Now, at some point, you get thrown into the age thing. Also, you have to go pee a couple of times a night, which makes it even better, because now you're kind of shuffling over to the bath, to the toilet, and going, please God, don't wake up, don't wake up, don't wake up, don't wake up. And you just kind of do what you have to do, get back to bed. Please don't wake up. Please don't wake up. And you kind of feel sluggish. And then you get back in bed, you lie down, and you're like, God, I'm wide awake. So this is my prediction for your futures.
Is this based upon your
Personal
lived experience?
Absolutely. This is my lived personal experience. And the old people that I know, it's the conversations about health, which is also the conversations old people have.
Oh, yeah.
As I'm now demonstrating, turn into conversations about sleep. How did you sleep? Oh,
Who's your GI doctor? It's it's sad. I mean, I've actually had that conversation here recently. The ages of, it doesn't even make any sense, because I mean, we're sitting here talking about Barbie movies and the greatness of Braveheart and all. These are the
timeless topics. Yeah,
timeless topics, but they're and you're going to the gym and all that kind of stuff, or real men watching you slide down hills and stuff in your little sports car, which
was not a minivan.
Right. Well, true enough. And I had a minivan back in the day, by the way. That's a whole nother story that we might not get into. But, all those things are emblematic of a brain that doesn't realize that you're old. I mean, like, my brain still feels young. I mean, I'll go to the gym and challenge my 20-year-old son to bench press,
yeah,
and I will win. But I'll be dying the next day. I mean, I'll be just dying of pain. But it's because my brain doesn't realize I've actually gotten old here. It's quite. Actually, this is really a depressing podcast. Just depressing.
Yeah.
Let me complain about something or talk about how I hate Leonardo DiCaprio or something.
Well, plenty of show notes to talk about
There you go,
things to complain about.
Crank me up, and I'm in.
But here's the thing that I've noticed is, in my mind and my outlook and even my habits, I'm about 35 years old.
Right.
You have that much experience. You're not really trying to figure out how things work and how the world works. You know how to deal with the mechanic and the bank and the doctor, and you know how to get a loan, and you know what to do if the air conditioner goes out. All the how to become an adult. You've pretty much got that figured out, and then you spend the rest of your life just kind of filling in the fine details. And I'm 59 years old, so I've been filling in the fine details for 20. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It makes you feel any better. I made the same sound, but in my head. I didn't do it out loud. I'm like, damn, that's old. But all right. Oh, now I said it out loud.
I've got a brutal studio audience here. This is killing me.
So, well, at least when you gave me a view of the future earlier, you gave it way out in the future.
Yeah, you have
8 years.
Yeah, eight plus years to look for. And I'll give you at the tender young age of 51 the same advice that I give to my kids who are in their late 20s, which is, if the sooner you start establishing the habits that I wished I had established.
Yep.
I mean, I'm paying for it.
Yep.
And to start now saying, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week, it's brutally hard for me because I never cut that groove.
I told my son that. He actually, for once, listened. That exact same thing. I really didn't get into a routine of going to the gym and lifting weights or anything like that till well later on. And he's 20, and he's gotten into it, and he goes 4 or 5 times a week, takes all his protein, has his routine of lifting weights. And I mean, he's got it down, and it'll almost certainly be a lifelong groove cut for him to.
If you can maintain that after you get married, after you start your career.
I will say that it will be tougher once his will to live has been extinguished. But that's the marriage reference.
Well, yeah. Speaking of the will to live being completely extinguished, we had a request from the studio audience.
We wish we could get all the studio audience in here, but we only have room for 50.
Yeah.
And so sorry for those who couldn't make it.
Well, one of the reels, for want of a better word, that I got was from this. I take her to be a psychologist or marriage counselor. I'm not sure what she is. She's a stunningly attractive British woman, and she has
oxymoron.
Yeah, she. Well, I don't think she's like the English Rose. I think she's has a Middle Eastern background. Really good looking woman, very well spoken, got that British accent, and her shtick is she talks about relationships and the dynamics between men and women, and is I think what a lot of people would consider to be not romantic, pretty pessimistic, and talks about here's what women want from men. When a woman is treating you in such a way, believe her. And I think she thinks of relationships as mostly transactional, which I don't know how you feel about how many relationships are transactional versus, oh, I really love you, I really care about you. But anyway, so the request that came in was, you guys know a lot about divorce and marriage, at least from a professional perspective.
I know personal, but
Well, I don't know how much you want to go into the personal perspective. I have plenty of thoughts from the professional perspective.
I will steer clear of the personal. Yes,
but the original question was, it's true that, or the position that was handed to me anyway was, it's true that marriage is just a scam for women to take advantage of men. You can't convince me otherwise. You should be able to leave your wife whenever that's the right time for you. And I may be stating it a little broadly.
Neanderthalic view of marriage come from?
From the studio audience.
Okay. Well,
yeah. So
I have a hard time.
Not right.
Okay. Well. Can somebody hand that man a microphone? We have somebody in our studio audience that wants to chime in. You want to state?
Hold on, I'm coming.
Yeah, state the hypothesis a little clearer.
Hey, it's great. Thanks for letting me come.
Yeah.
This is a great show. I've watched all 10 episodes so far, 9 episodes. No, my stance was I feel as though their marriages statistically fail 55% of the time. On top of that, 75%, and these are statistics, these are not opinions, 75% of marriages wind up with one of the people in the relationship being miserable and being there solely for a family reason or because they don't want to give all of their money to their partner. So 75% of marriages of this institution wind up in failure.
Well,
And therefore what?
And therefore, and the worst part is society tells us if two people are in a relationship, right, and everything is going great, but they don't want to get married, what does society say? Society says, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? There must be something wrong with the relationship. Instead of, oh, no, these people just love each other and they don't want to get the government involved in their relationship. But society says, no, there's something wrong with the marriage. Yes. Oh, yes, you're not going to sway me on this. So to me, I feel as though, and I'm just an audience member.
Security. Please get this man.
Marriages are complete BS.
All right.
And I didn't say anything about, I wasn't commenting on what this lady's position was. I was commenting on the fact that statistically marriages wind up failing 75% of the time. So why would you put yourself at risk for that misery?
Do you want to take first shot at this?
Well,
I mean, it's a big, easy target.
Well, why don't you go first?
Okay. First of all, the statistic that 75% of marriages end in failure is way too low. I'm gonna say it's probably closer to 90%, because it's.
I'm gonna have to clean all this up.
Yeah, the divorce rate is about 50%. I won't try to get to an exact.
That's misleading as well, but
it is. Well, yeah, it's hugely misleading.
Right. It's not that high.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. But also, you have to in any debate, you have to define your terms, and to define a failed marriage assumes that there's only two kinds of marriages, which is failed marriages and successful marriages. And if I were to say a successful marriage is where both people are really happy that they're married, and if they had it all to do over again, would still do it. How many of those walking around marriages, and let's put a time limit on it, because people that just got married, I'm not going to give them a vote in that election. So, what shall we say? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
5.
5 years. Okay. Well, then I clear that bar. I would say the walking around number. In fact, let me change that to 7 years, because you've heard of the 7-year itch.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. That is a real thing. I have a professional viewpoint of that. 7-year itch is absolutely a real thing. And so people who have cleared the 7-year number and are still happily married, that do it all again with this person, I'm going to say is 10% or less. That's a brutal number. Which by that definition would mean that 90% of marriages end in failure. Okay. So I'm granting you kind of a part of your argument. I'm going to completely reject the idea that society forces people who don't want to get married to get married. That was true 50 years ago and at all times before then. You know, if you read, I'm not going to get into that, but it definitely.
We're not going to get into reading on this show.
Yeah. Definitely the pressure was unstoppable. Not just if you were in love with somebody, but if you were single, and especially if you were a woman,
most of human
had to get
history,
married.
marriage was absolutely transactional or born out of necessity.
Yeah.
We're going back to clan times all the way to the degree of pre-industrial revolution, where look, if you'd like to survive the winter, or you would not like to get drug off by the other tribe and placed into involuntary sexual servitude, well, guess what? You get married. And so its foundations in many cases, not all, that's a broad stroke there, but was transactional or just, necessity.
Yeah. And that creates pretty deep cultural roots in a successful marriage, for a long time is one where your husband doesn't kill you.
Right.
Yeah, congratulations. That was a success.
And kills the people who want to kill you or provide sustenance so you don't die.
Yeah, so you have to get into the 1800s before people really started addressing the argument of why should I be married to somebody that I don't particularly want to be married to. And Daniel, the argument that you just raised, Thomas Hardy raised that in Jude the Obscure, which was a late 1800s novel, hugely controversial because he was making exactly the arguments that you were making. He was making it from the husband's perspective of all these women are leeches and we should be able to get rid of them if we wanted to. And he was making that right next to Catholic Ireland, which if you had any kind of relations with a girl, you would be fired from your job if you did not get married to her to preserve her honor and the honor. If you worked at the bank and you dated a girl, you had to get married to the girl, and the bank would fire you because we can't have those kind of people working here that date women and don't get married to them, treat them honorably. Those cultural roots of you have to do right by women and you have to get married to them, and women have to get married to protect themselves. Those go incredibly deep. And the idea that came about in the late 60s and 70s was to ignore all that and pretend that doesn't exist and say, the only thing that matters is, do you want to be married anymore? And it has taken 50 years to catch up to that incredibly new, incredibly modern idea that women can take care of themselves. They can enter the job market. They can earn their own living. They don't need any man to take care of them. I don't.
But do you think all those are a good thing?
Let me put a pin in that and not answer it,
Fair
and just say that 50 years ago it was absolutely true that still these old cultural roots of, ma'am, you have to get married, you're a weirdo if you don't. That was true then. I don't know that many young women now who don't, enough to know how they feel about it, but I don't see the pressure to get married. And my proof to you of that is that most people in their 20s aren't getting married.
Right.
They're not. And people who are successful and educated aren't having kids until their 30s. The thought of having kids in your 20s among educated professional people is I'm absolutely not going to do that. So I'm not going to buy the idea that you're pressured into getting married.
Well, I mean, obviously, and I agree with I think there's really there's a macro view of the marriage issue and a micro one. I think on a personal or an individual level. Look, this is coming from somebody, and I'm not exclusive company here on that, has been, well, has gone through their own divorce as well as been a part of thousands
Professionally.
yeah, professionally, that I think that yeah, there is a lot of divorces, and on individual basis, it is fraught with danger and potential failure, but is still a worthy endeavor. I think even the divorce rates, just how many marriages this year versus how many divorces, but if you dig deeper in the numbers, the numbers would bear out that the same individuals get divorced multiple times and kind of inflate that number. Mm-hmm. That it's not really like, for every 100 marriages, 50 are done, are gone and by divorce, but it's still not a great success rate. There's certainly plenty of folks that are miserable. But I do think it's a worthy endeavor on an individual level that I think shouldn't just be cast aside as some horrible institution. On a macro level, as far as the structuring of a society and the keeping the fabric of society orderly, the rearing of children for a functioning society going forward, I think it's essential, and I think the breakdown of it is very, very negative. There's two ways you can really judge the health of a country, and that is traffic and marriage.
Traffic?
Yeah.
Like you're talking about traffic, like car traffic?
Right. You can tell if a country is a well-organized, highly functioning, productive country. Just go out there and check the traffic out. Go to, Costa Rica or Uruguay, and it's Katie bar the door. I mean, nobody. But if you go to like in the United States, everybody obeys traffic laws. People go here and there, and it is literally a function of how well that overall society has been organized. Same way with this institution of marriage. As it frays, the less organized and less of an ability to not fray. It is, I think, absolutely essential, at least in a modern society. But even if you go back to clan days or small groups, living villages or whatever, back in whatever, that it was central to the ability of that individual society, big or small, to cohesively navigate the world. It is the smallest structure that creates a bigger structure. It's almost like the molecule body. So I am a fan, and I think a fan overall that it is a positive and essential element of the world today.
Well, let me.
The end.
I guess that's two pins I need to throw in that. Something I would say on the macro level about marriage is everybody knows the statistics. Everybody knows about failed marriages. Since I reject the idea that people get married because they were forced into it, that raises a question, well, if marriage is such a terrible institution, why are so many people getting married? And the only answer I can come up with is because they want to. Right. You want to get married because you're optimistic and you feel like this is the person that I absolutely want to spend the rest of my life with. I want to have kids with them. I want to everything that I do in life. I don't want to do it without that person. And marriage is the institution that, if I can use the religious word, sanctifies the idea of I want to be with that person and I want them with me. And I understand we can get a divorce. We can sign a prenup. But there is There's just something about it that living together does not have the same secret sauce as, that little piece of paper, like they used to call it in the 70s. We don't need that little piece of paper. Well, there's something about that little piece of paper, even now, even with the ability to
What
rip
is that
it to
little
pieces.
piece of paper? I mean, what
A
is
marriage
it?
certificate.
I know, but I mean, what?
What is
Wow.
it? What is it about that?
Yeah, what is it? Because I honestly, I asked that because I don't actually know.
I think as as the ability to jump out of relationships has gotten so much easier, and particularly with social media making it so easy. If all you care about is a casual hookup, easy. If all you care about is a date, easy. If all you want to do is just to hang out with somebody, it's never been easier in the history of our culture to do that. And to say, not interested in any of that, all I want is you, that's and to say that publicly, that is, I think, unusual now. And it signifies an enormous commitment, now more than ever. It signifies an enormous commitment. And if that's how you feel about somebody and they feel that way about you, it is the most natural thing in the world to say, I want to get married to you. So, going back to the idea of why do people do it? Because they want to do it. And why did they get out of marriage? Same reason, because they can't stand the thought of it anymore. Is a bad marriage miserable? I can't think of a whole lot of things that don't involve torture in prison that are worse than being in a bad marriage. It is a god-awful thing to say, I want to work until 8 o'clock every night because when I go home, it's like going home to a prison, which is, I've had countless clients describe their marriage as prison, jail. I can hear the slam of the jail door shut behind me every time that I go home. How many, you were in private practice. How many clients did you have say things like that? All of them, right?
They wouldn't be in the office if they didn't.
Yeah, it is, and then the question comes up, is it a good thing or a bad thing to stay together for the sake of the kids? That is, you want to talk about an unresolved question in divorce world. And I can argue it both ways.
And we've added a lot of equipment in this place, but the bar is the one that we have not added. This conversation makes me want to drink. I mean, where is it? And I agree with Daniel now, or the studio audience. So I have PTSD.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, we can move on to a completely new idea.
That whole jail cell conversation.
Yeah,
Ka-ching.
I mean,
I heard it in my head. Ka-ching.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little too real. It's a little too on the point. I mean, there's just nothing like sitting with somebody knowing that they're seething with hatred toward, and there's no way out, because what are you going to do about the kids, or what are you going to do financially? Because those divorce judges. They have unlimited discretion, it feels like, and they just say, here, ma'am, take all of his money.
Yeah, it's the law.
Why do y'all do that?
All right. I mean,
So yeah, but
equity, Dave.
equity. Well, we can jump off of that brutal topic. I don't know why. Look, that
The
was
studio audience is to blame.
Yeah, that was absolutely not my idea of what we were going to open with at all. I was going to talk
That
about
was your idea.
about
That's exactly
birthdays.
what I simply sent a TikTok,
Yeah.
and you said we're opening with that.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest,
I mean,
Yeah,
Moving
no,
on.
No, that wasn't my idea. So, but I will say this: to get off of that topic and to not make a very smooth transition, I am proud of our studio audience, because every time we walk in here, there's more equipment, there's more lights, there's more video cameras. You must not have any other hobby you're up to 14 podcasts, did I see?
that's right.
Okay, well, I'm I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You know what you need to do is you ought to have like a 15, 20-second spot that we could play in the middle of the show so that you could encourage people to do their own podcast.
Oh, you mean like some sort of like advertisement or something like that?
Is that too much to ask?
Well, I think I might have something right here. Are you ready to launch your podcast with ease? Let Audio Alchemy Productions elevate your content with our state-of-the-art 4-camera studio and top-tier audio production. Focus on your message while we handle the rest. From recording to distribution on all major platforms. Whether you're a brand, an influencer, or a storyteller, let's amplify your voice. Contact us at 601-672-6591 and start your podcast journey today.
Now, hold on now. I said last week that if we ever did that right, like flawlessly, that we'd be disappointed. Well, color me disappointed. That actually worked.
No. I was
not?
you jumped in before what I was going to say, which is I say it every week because every week it's true. The transition into that commercial sucks. It is so artificial. We've really got to work on it, but you're right. It'd be a sad day if we ever just nailed it down and it landed perfectly.
Well, Lord have mercy. I thought we just did.
No.
It brought a tear to the corner of my eye.
No.
Pretty close, man. Pretty close.
We didn't. We came up. That was a long way from sticking the landing. That's like in the Olympics, and they do the triple flip, and they're supposed to stick the landing. Instead, they fall on their hands and knees and they sprain their ankle and they have to get carried off. That's what that transition was.
I hate ice skating. So.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Such a stupid thing.
Well, let me get back into your wheelhouse, which is old curmudgeon complaining about how kids today.
Never get tired of it, Dave.
No. This is and TikTok apparently never gets tired of it
They
either.
don't.
There's a lot of young folks on there that don't like getting talked about like that.
Well, they just
Well,
don't have
I'll be
to. I'll
daggone.
tell you what, by God. I saw something really interesting on one of these social media sites and spent more time watching it than I thought I would. I think you would be very entertained by this. And what it was these darn kids who have their own podcasts. I don't know if this is a thing or not. Daniel's younger. He can tell me if this is a thing or not. But what it is young people on their podcasts and they listen to old hits for the first time. Like you have two people they just have their podcast. They've never heard the Righteous Brothers sing Unchained Melody before. Or they've never heard Stairway to Heaven before. Or the one that was really funny was they've never heard Charlie Daniels do Devil Went Down to Georgia before. And it is hilarious. You know, these are songs that you and we've heard 10 million times, and we know all of the words. We certainly know the melody. We have our opinions on the things that we like. Great old songs, but those kids today, all they know is their music that has been recorded in the last, 10 or 15 years. And so the big hits of the 60s and 70s, they've never heard it before. And according to these podcasts, their reaction is, "Oh my God, this is actually good. I can't believe it. What these grandpas listen to."
Well, there is hope for society then.
Yeah, well, one song, one podcast at a time.
It kind of reminds me of, I've seen this. I don't know if this is popular. I think it is, though, where like people will go watch people play video games on like
That is a thing.
YouTube or
That is a
something
thing.
like that.
Yeah, it's big.
Why in the hell would that be big?
They're making
Wow.
millions of dollars out there.
Okay, well, that just says all you need to know about society.
Agreed.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Who in the world thought a video game, or for that matter, music listening, is entertainment? Or
watching somebody else hear a song for the first time and be blown away by, oh my God, the Beatles are actually good, and I'm sitting there watching it going, yeah, no joke. That's why they're the most popular band of all time. They're kind of okay. But
I don't like the Beatles.
It's of course not. But since the theme of the show always is these kids today, and
they're morons.
Well, try.
They literally are morons.
Try
the exception are the non-morons.
Try to get them to listen to, when I was raising my kids, let me turn you on to all these artists from the 70s that I just absolutely love this music. And you get hard eye roll, and I just don't get it. And then I try to not be an old man and listen to music today. I can just about get my head around modern country, even though it ain't country music.
Right. I mean, I like some new country, but my son, who's 20, he does like old music. He collects old records. There's a place called the Little Big Store down in Raymond. Great. They're not a sponsor, but I mean, it's an amazing, amazing place. It's just an old train depot, and he has thousands and thousands and thousands of obscure and old records. I bought my son some old limited release Grateful Dead concert. It cost me a mint. I got him for his high school graduation, actually. But at least he goes out to experience it. Now, I'd slap him if he sat there and watched a video of somebody else listening to that Grateful Dead radio. Go get the thing and experience it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, I mean, as far as that's what they do. I mean, you stumble across it and you watch it. It's like you're watching a car wwreck. You just, instead of two cars.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Right.
It's just, I watch it with incredulity of, I mean, although it makes sense, seriously, you've never heard this song before?
Right.
It was everywhere in 1975. I mean, the Beatles were everywhere for 20 years, and you have just no cultural memory whatsoever.
And they will vote.
And do vote.
Oh, my God. That's half the entertainment of looking at these youngsters nowadays.
And talking to youngsters nowadays.
Because it's just being marveled at the idiocy. It's just, and it never, there's no ceiling to it. It just keeps, I mean, there's no way that this is the world we actually are living in.
Let me challenge you on that.
It's the Matrix. I don't believe it.
Well, let me challenge you on that. Let me see if I can make an argument for the young people, which is you're going to have a hard time finding a generation that did not throw the ethics and the cultural and the culture of their forebears into the garbage can and say, I'm not listening to that. People in the 60s, I'm not listening to bebop music. I'm not listening to Frank Sinatra. People in the 50s, I'm not listening to big band. People in the 40s, I'm not listening to hillbilly music. People in the 70s, I'm not listening to that saccharine sweet, hey, we're the Monkees. I'm not listening to that. It all broke down in the 80s when music just absolutely died, other than punk and hair bands, which nobody likes that.
Dave.
Yeah.
The 80s were the greatest. That was the greatest generation for music in the history of mankind.
That's the stupidest thing you've said yet. That was a.
Well,
I was there.
That's a compliment, Dave. I've said a lot of stupid stuff.
I was there. That the 80s was a cultural wasteland. That's when you had all the clothes were neon and one color and giant shoulder pads for women, and the TV shows were lame. And music, literally,
this is the worst 10 minutes of my life.
Well, you like hair bands.
Nobody
likes hair bands. Even in the 80s, nobody liked hair bands except for the drug kids.
I had
and the cool kids tried to like
I was-
punk, but they couldn't get their head around it, and so the 70s had to be replayed. That's when the oldies stations started, was during the 80s, because the new music was so bad that they just had to replay the hits for the 60s and 70s for another decade until somebody in Seattle came up with grunge in the 90s, and somebody in New York came up with hip hop in the late 80s, and music just kind of started all over again. But the 80s is just this dead space. It's the Dead Sea of music. You know this. Don't you're sitting there acting like you don't know, but you know.
I was going to buy you a drink after this, but I'm not. But I had a mullet and an earring in the 80s, and so I was cool. And, you know, I enjoyed going to the Guns N' Roses Skid Row concert in Birmingham because those are the two greatest bands of all time. Definitionally, they are music. And Guns N' Roses is the greatest band that's ever lived, ever existed. Maybe the Beatles could have opened up for them at some point, maybe, but I don't think they were worthy.
You're going to be a
So-
big star, man, because you'll say it.
I'm just saying, you know, Axl Rose is by far the greatest lead vocalist in the history of music. I mean, I could go on. Ozzy Osbourne is a living legend, although he's barely living. I mean, I can't even express to you the level of artistry contained in the hair metal movement. It's awe-inspiring. It will be taught in universities for hundreds and hundreds of years. And up there with Mozart, Handel.
Which isn't taught anymore,
Right.
because who listens to
I
that?
understand,
I'm sorry
but
to say.
it just goes to the level of artistry and excellence, and actually making humanity better. It is a contribution.
I'm just letting you go.
I'm
just letting you
I-
go, man.
It needed to be said. And so that level of excellence, of perfection, which was the hair metal movement in the 80s, is not something that youngsters could ever recognize, or certainly not duplicate. Because as best I can tell, I don't even know what the heck music is. I could not tell you a song. I don't know if they even have
that was my
songs.
next. That was
Is
my
it
next
AI?
question.
What is it? I don't know.
That was my next question. When you're rolling around, when you're going up to Starkville or wherever, you know,
Right.
and you've got an hour in the truck, are you popping in your 80s 8-track tape, or are you or what are you listening to?
I
now?
listen to "Sweet Child of Mine" on loop
Over and
everywhere I
over
go.
again.
It's the only song I have listened to in the last 11 years, Dave.
Okay,
Okay, and don't judge me.
I'm judging you hard. You listen to nothing that's been recorded in the last 10 or 15
no,
years.
that's not true. I will.
You're dead to it.
No, music is dead. I do listen to some. I have on my Sirius radio. You got your 80s, you know, and it's preset clearly, and then I do listen to the highway, some modern country. I'll go back and forth. All the music that you would expect for an old grumpy white guy to listen to. So,
Well, you're
and I went to a Harry Styles concert. So there you go.
Well, you're not much different than most people who get their cultural bearings somewhere between age 15 and 25, and the music that they like, that's the music is in that decade of their life.
I listened to a rap song yesterday, though.
Did you really?
I did.
What was it?
It was the Tom McDonald, Ben Shapiro rap song called Facts. Greatest song probably ever made that wasn't made by Guns N' Roses.
Is this a political song?
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
guessing?
it is. But it's number one on iTunes right now.
Is it really?
I wish we could play it, but I mean, it is just
Yeah,
that.
he's sober too.
Yeah.
Who is? Which one?
Tom McDonald. He got dreadlocks, tattoos all over his face. He had some real bad substance abuse issues back in the day. Cleaned himself up. Well-read guy. He's actually a smart guy. Had Ben Shapiro. You know who Ben Shapiro is? Political commentator,
Yeah,
Daily
yeah.
Wire, etc. etc. Conservative, real conservative guy, and even beyond that, not just politically conservative, but just as a human, you just can't possibly see him rap. And he does some little speak rapping. He doesn't rap as good as I could or something. But it's a funny troll kind of song. But it's got some.
Is it popular because it's good, or is it popular because it has the political sentiment that people want?
The second.
So it's not.
It's
it
listenable.
would not stand alone.
No, I don't think so.
Without the politics in it.
Probably not.
It's not awful.
It's not awful. I'll grant you that it's not. But I'm quite sure it got the boost because of the nature of the words and the political message, the kind of the anti-woke, and it was very direct on that, which of course lends itself to me listening to it. I'm gonna listen to that song on loop for the next 11 years. So I'm anti-woke, Dave.
Yeah, shock.
Yeah, I'm very, very anti-woke.
Shock there.
But all right, I'm glad I convinced you on the 80s rock. We can move along if you'd like.
Yeah, what's your next topic?
Oh no. This is your show, Dave. I just occasionally pop in there with my negative views on things.
Well, I wonder if you have any thought of, I want to keep up with what's going on. I want to keep up with the modern anything, what the kids are listening to today, as it were. What's their music? What's their cultural outlook? What are the shows that they watch? What's their thing? Or is it, you know what? I'm 51 years old. What do I care?
Well,
I'm just going to do the thing that I like to do.
It's impossible now. I really thought, back in our day, our parents, whatever, they didn't understand us much, but it seems like there wasn't that much to understand. I mean, it was kind of a simpler world. I mean, you might, I got some cassette tapes of Guns N' Roses and Alice in Chains and Skid Row and all that stuff, and that was kind of in a Walkman, and a TV with 3 channels. So, I mean, it wasn't that much to really keep up with culturally. Oh, I couldn't figure out what my daughter's into totally if I tried. I mean, I don't even know the names of all these Instachats and all that kind of stuff and getting in and who's sing. I mean, I don't even know how you buy a record. I actually tried to buy a CD not too long back. I don't think you
like online or in
like at a store.
At a store.
And I felt like an idiot, because I was, and because it passed me by. I remember going to do that back in the day.
Sure.
So apparently I couldn't tell you how to buy a music or a song or an album online or something. Apparently you can download it. I've never done that. I don't even know. I've literally never downloaded or bought an iTunes or whatever that is. So, I mean, how can I keep up?
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because I was actually thinking about, you had said, if we're going to do a book club, which we're not going to do, but we can talk about books if we want to. So I thought, I'm on my iPad, and I thought, Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand's book that you were talking about, whenever that was written, I want to say in the 1930s. And so I thought, copyright has expired. It's probably at $2 on, you can, hey, guess what? You can download books on your iPad if you want to do. I've done it a million times.
I am familiar with Audible.
Okay.
Long plane trips.
Yeah.
Somebody turned me on to it. There you go.
Okay. Well, I always figured that I was going to be a hold the book in your hand, paper book kind of guy. It turns out downloading books on an iPad has its advantages, has a lot of advantages. So anyway, all that to say, I was going to download, I figured for $2, a copy of Atlas Shrugged and just see how good or how bad is it going to be.
God, I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Well, and then I had, the most modern problem in the world, which is, there's a download button. So again, this is all happening on my iPad. I hit the download button. please enter your Apple ID and your password. And so, okay, I enter my Apple ID. Bama sucks. Incorrect password.
No, that is very correct password, Dave.
Incorrect password. Okay, Alabama sucks. No. Alabama Tide sucks. No.
Screw it. I'm done here. Yeah.
Well, I'm persistent. Alabama Crimson Tide sucks. No. Alabama Crimson Tide sucks! ! No. Bama Crimson Tide sucks! ! 69. No. Alabama Tide sucks. No. Alabama Crimson 69 Tide! Sucks. It appears that it looks like you're having problems with your password. Would you like to reset your password? Yes. To reset your password, you will have to answer security questions. Question 1. What was the first car that you ever owned? Okay, that's easy. 1966 Galaxy. No. 1966 Ford Galaxy. No. Ford Galaxy. No. Blue 1966 Ford Galaxy. No.
You are persistent, aren't you?
Blue 1966 Ford Galaxy. No. It just...
You've had a bad week.
Yeah. It just kept coming. So, yeah, and I guess I should say this, too.
You didn't read the book, I guess.
Well, there were problems. I'm telling you that there were technical difficulties. So, and I say all that, look, that is what the password, one of those things probably is what the password is, but it turns out I'll never know. Maybe it was all of them. I don't know. It's going to sound like I'm making fun of Alabama or I don't like Alabama. And like you say, that those were all the right answers. But then it occurred to me, anybody who knows, who is an Alabama fan, I don't know why they would be offended, because the only reason people don't like Alabama,
they're good,
is because they're good. Like nobody's Apple password is Kentucky sucks. Kentucky Wildcats sucks. Kentucky Wildcats football sucks.
Right. It's always Alabama sucks or Mississippi State sucks.
Right. Yeah. Nobody hates Kentucky. Well, I take that back. There is one fan base that absolutely hates like Kentucky football.
Louisville.
Kentucky fans. When you think about it,
I take that. I should have saw that one.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's like I was thinking, like, who hates Mississippi State football more than anybody? It's not Ole Miss.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's the Mississippi State fans.
Why do you have to go so close to home?
No, it's it was like that way with LSU when we were losing. When I was a kid, we routinely, you had 11-game seasons, and it was nothing unusual to go 4-7, 5-6, and I've said this before. Being an LSU fan, or maybe a Mississippi State fan, it's like loving a bad woman. Every now and then she treats you nice. Every now and then, you're on that trip to Cozumel. You're on that night.
Yeah.
Careful, Ole Miss fans. Right now, you're on that trip to Cozumel with Ole Miss. You've never had more wins than you've just had. You're having a good time. You're on the beach. You're sipping that favorite drink. Y'all are having these wonderful nights together. Ole Miss fan, enjoy it while you can, because sooner or later you're going to come back to work. You're going to come back to your regular life. You're going to come back to Monday, and you're going to have to, you're going to have to face up to the hard reality that is, college football today under the circumstances.
Oh, Nicki Minaj. I thought of a singer. That's all. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. You asked me something. Did I know? And I read something. Nicki Minaj. I have no idea who she is, but I saw that name, and she said there was a singer. So,
you okay?
I've been racking my brain to think of an actual modern singer over here.
Okay, young.
like a
All right,
password.
all right, studio audience. Is that a modern singer, or is that somebody from 10 years ago?
It could be.
No, it's modern.
Yes. Yep. And I think Snoop Dogg.
Oh,
Is he
Oh,
modern?
but that's
I heard of him.
yeah. That's like saying
he's old but relevant still today.
Well, always. You know, he's just part of the zeitgeist. I get that. But the
Kid Rock, who's a great American. I saw him shooting up Bud Light.
shooting up Bud Light.
Oh yeah,
What are you talking about shooting up Bud Light?
Oh, back when the Bud Light folks had that Mulva,
Dylan
what now?
Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, that was dressing up as a chick. And so
What are you talking about?
oh,
What?
what that the Dylan Mulvaney, who used to be an actor or whatever, and look, we got all these youngins, you know, they don't know music. Apparently, they don't know genders. I don't know, but he started dressing up as a woman, and saying he was a woman, and then doing some sort of day in the life of a woman, which I find to be deeply insulting to actual women who have spent their life giving birth, facing actual being, I don't know, actually existing as a woman, overcoming obstacles, et cetera, et cetera. Either which way, and so then she did an endorsement. I mean, Bud Light paid her whatever to, I don't know, do an ad.
Paid Dylan.
Dylan,
No,
who is
no, that's not how.
yeah, it was.
Bud Light created a 6-pack with her face on it, and then he posted about it. They didn't pay him anything. They just gave him a beer. That's what I heard.
Okay. Well, all right. I mean, whatever. But I mean, it was coordinated between Bud Light and old Dylan there to advertise on some level, with some arrangement or whatever. I'm just saying this is what the prelude to, it caused quite a controversy because look, Bud Light, look, there's plumbers, football games. I mean, look, man's man kind of deal, and so Kid Rock found it to be ridiculous, and just so he took it, went out to his field, just shot up a bunch of Bud Light, and said he wouldn't drink Bud Light anymore. But I hear
Why
you.
not?
Well,
What does he care whether Bud Light wants to have some
Mulvaney.
some Dylan Mulvaney pictures on the? What does he care?
well, because some folks, so those old curmudgeon types that aren't enlightened, really find the pushing of what used to be until very recently
I know
a
what
mental disorder.
Okay, I know what your problem.
And pushing it mainly on children, which is obviously a huge problem. But then just like really like pushing it on just common regular folk that just want to have a beer after work. And hey, how about Hank Williams Jr. keep doing the theme song for Bud Light or whatever, or ads, or now they got the UFC fights are sponsored, but they're trying to clean it up by being sponsors for more manly pursuits, and so that would be the problem that those old curmudgeon types and Kid Rock might have there. That it's enough. It's just, for God's sake, it's enough. And what tone deaf human being chose that image of humanity to market Bud Light?
Well, it sounds
I don't
like
know.
the concern, I'll use air quotes for concerns, is they don't want corporations normalizing.
Right. Or in many cases, I would think old curmudgeons would argue, and certainly plenty of women would as well, that this concept that old Dylan gets to be Woman of the Year or
This was Woman
I
of the
think
Year
she-
too. I didn't
well,
hear that part.
I think old Dylan has won various awards like that. I mean, or been invited to, or somehow it went to the White House. Went to the White House to celebrate his Life of a Woman show that he does online or whatever. which is to the old curmudgeons, such as Kid Rock or other people, deeply offensive to actual women who have spent their life as a woman overcoming the obstacles and dealing with the issues that really do affect women their whole life. I know that that official with, I cannot remember, the Biden administration fella that is
Cross-dresser that got arrested for stealing luggage.
not that one, but that's a whole nother one. But it's oh my God, what did indeed win Woman of the Year?
Bruce Jenner?
No. In the Biden administration, it was a military. It's the oh my God, I can't remember. Rachel Levine. No, that's a different person. It might have been Rachel. I don't know either which way, but had been a man in the military for the first 55 years of his life, decided to be a woman the last couple, and then wins Woman of the Year or Most Influential Woman. I cannot, and if you pull up the picture, you'll go, holy God almighty. But that's deeply offensive to, say, the 57-year-old woman that has always been a woman her whole life.
Well,
bore children, had to juggle work and children and husbands and
Rachel
right
Levine.
there. Rachel Levine. I was right. Rachel Levine.
okay.
Now pull that. Did you?
Yeah, it's
right
it
there.
is.
Okay. Well,
As you can tell, hadn't been a woman long.
Of LGBTQ harassment and specifically transphobia directed at me.
That's enough of that.
well,
So,
there's
Woman of the Year.
I got a few ideas about that. One, there are some people who do cross dressing and they're really believable at it.
And kudos.
And
that's not one, by
that
the way.
that person is like not really trying hard
Yeah, try harder,
to be convincing.
please.
My much larger point is I'm over people being deeply offended by anything.
No, fair enough on that.
On the cultural thing, if you don't like what Bud Light's doing, don't drink Bud Light.
Well, that's all that happened.
Who
Yeah.
cares?
Right.
Who cares? Yeah, I remember the thing about, well, we're going to boycott Chick-fil-A because of this. We're going to boycott Disney because of the other thing. Just do your thing, man. From what I can tell, a lot of people who are deeply offended are actually deeply delighted when they see somebody step a toe out of line of whatever line the deeply offended person is drawing.
Right.
They're delighted. They love it because now they're going to call you a fill in the blank. You're some kind of phobe, and you're not deeply offended. And I'm shooting the same argument against right, left, wherever you come from, whatever your thing is. Stop being deeply offended. Just let the other guy do what the other guy does. Let him think the way that he thinks. Let
Fair
him,
enough.
if you don't want TV shows to portray something, start your own. If you don't want the movie, like we were talking about, the Barbie movie and how it was somehow,
It was deeply offensive, Dave.
it was deeply offensive. Don't watch, just, you can say they're making a point. I don't, here's an idea. They're making a point. I don't agree with a point. I'm not
Okay.
offended by it. Just, I don't agree with their point.
Oh,
So
I
what?
agree. Look, I don't care what Rachel. I
Yeah,
could care less. They can knock yourself out. You can dress any way you want. You can call yourself whatever you want. Again, I don't, and I'm perfectly fine with whomever. But again, if you want to do it, don't make other folks be happy about it. I don't
that's and I'm saying the opposite. Why
care.
even care about it? That's why
Well, because they get mad at people for not recognizing what they think.
not recognizing,
ignore
not
them.
Believing.
Then
No,
ignore
not
them.
even recognize it. It's gotten one. There's one extra step that has been taken. It's not recognizing. It's not accepting. At this point, you must celebrate it. Celebrate it. It's not okay.
Nobody's coming up to you and telling you to celebrate anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you can't. Yeah,
be
nobody's
a few
coming up to you and telling you. Nobody's coming up to me. This is the reason that I gave up on the news. Was my opinions, my caring, didn't move the needle on anything that mattered either in the world. Nobody in the world cared because I felt this way about pick any issue, and my feeling one way or the other about it didn't move the needle in the world and didn't make my life any better. So if it's not helping anybody else and it's not helping me, why am I getting so wrapped up in it? So I let it go. And all this cultural war, where, society is either, so backwards that we need to be celebrating things, or so crazy woke that, just wherever you come from on it, whoever's listening to this, I'll bet you nobody is actually coming up to you and saying, you're going to be fired if you don't celebrate something.
Oh, I
Really?
promise you that's inaccurate. And not only that,
You personally.
oh, not me, no.
Daniel?
No,
No.
not here. No,
No.
I'm not talking
Well,
about
that's
here
what
in
I'm talking
Mississippi.
about.
I'm talking about in L.A. or San
that's their
Francisco.
fight.
That's fine. I mean, try being that one hockey player that didn't want to take part in Pride Night.
But that's you. But
You-
that's
Okay.
that's the hockey player.
I understand. I'm just saying. I mean, it's not as if that battle is not out there. Ask Jordan Peterson about his getting rung up there in Canada. I mean, I know it's the same continent, Dave. And that virus, the woke mind virus, it doesn't know borders. So it's kind of like COVID. Need some plexiglass.
Are you going to change it?
No, I mean, look,
There you go.
all that it requires for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Okay, so what good are you going to do to stop evil from flourishing?
Hey.
Whatever evil it is being defined, what are you going to do? You're not going to do anything.
I listen
So-
on loop to Guns N' Roses, and I occasionally go out in the field and shoot Bud Light cans.
Well,
And that's my contribution.
Well, yeah. Let me give you my better idea. Instead of listening to the talk radio or the CNN or the whoever it is that really gets you going, why not put all that aside and say, I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to work on my own life. I'm going to work on my own gratitude. I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to get smarter. I'm going to get more connected to the people around me.
Right.
And the way that I'm going to change the world is by starting with me. Instead of complaining about the hockey player or the actor getting or what's going on in the White House, none of which you can affect. The one thing that you really can move the needle on is yourself.
Those aren't mutually exclusive.
They
endeavors.
are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Because it's a terrible, in my opinion, it is a terrible hobby to get caught up in all the cultural stuff that is going on that you cannot change. And no matter how much you care about it, you're not going to change it in the world, and it's not going to change you in your life. And it's going to distract you from what are the things that you can do in your life? What do you want to be?
I agree with you. Okay, if you're obsessed with it, I mean, we were filling some time on a podcast.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
I
well,
don't
for
really
me-
walk down the road stopping people and going, you know what?
Well, I'll
You know.
okay. Well, I'll as ever.
It's just for the millions of people out here listening, Dave.
Yeah,
I thought.
as ever, I will take the opposite approach
You
and
always
say,
do.
funny how that works, and say I would read articles and I would get mad. I would watch shows. I would watch political shows and I would get mad. And I tried to be an equal opportunity, watch stuff from the left, read stuff from the left, watch stuff, read stuff from the right. And whoever was saying things that I totally disagreed with, I would get upset about it. And I don't think I'm the only one.
Oh, no.
I don't think these shows and magazines and they don't exist, but that people get emotionally invested and they get mad.
Yeah, and it's getting worse and worse. I agree with that. But I'm completely on the side of, look, my views, or maybe these aren't my views. Maybe this is just an old curmudgeon that I'm talking about. They might not be mine. But regardless of who owns those views, I fully understand other folks can have completely other views, and they should. And I just don't understand the whole getting offended by other people's views. I think that's a good thing. If you are fully in favor of the whole gender ideology or woke ideology, well, good for you. But we should. It shouldn't be a religious pursuit, and that's the problem nowadays with politics. It is very much akin to a very doctrinaire religiosity. It's if you do not agree with this view, then you are excommunicated. There is not a logical argument. Instead, in the religious view, it'd be you're a sinner. Well, in the political view, you're a racist or you're a homophobe. It's not an actual argument about the merits, and it shouldn't even be an argument. It should be a discussion. And at the end of the day, if two people disagree, so what? That is what makes America great, along with hair metal and traffic laws. All right. I mean, it's true.
I agree with a lot of that. I think the problem is people are internalizing a really insignificant problem in comparison to what their real problems are in your life, what your real problems are. If you made a list, the hockey player that had to do whatever it was, that ought to be so far down the list that I don't know why it would command much of your attention at all, other than to say.
Well, they came to get the hockey player today. They'll come to get me or my children 10 years from now.
Yeah, sure they are. Yeah, sure they are.
The woke mob.
Yeah, well, there's another mob on the other side, and there's another mob on the other side. They're not going to go away. They're going to have their fight. Somebody figured out decades ago, maybe it was Rush Limbaugh, that getting people pissed off is fantastic for ratings. And so he got people pissed off, and people on the left figured out, well, we can get people pissed off from our perspective. We'll get them pissed off, and it's a whole lot of pissed off people.
I hadn't heard a Rush Limbaugh reference in a long time. I began listening to him back in 1993 when I was a meat cutter at the Western Sizzlin' in Starkville, Mississippi.
Oh, we hadn't talked about that job.
I was a meat cutter back in the day. I've been a meat cutter, a forklift driver, a pallet jack operator, an order selector, a roofer. I used to plant the grass on the side of highways, operating a hay cannon, a painter, painted all sorts of apartment complexes and the like. What else?
You are the original man of the people, man. I love
grocery
this.
store manager, dollar store manager. Yeah, I'm working, man. I got a lot of calluses on the hand that day.
The hair metal band
Absolutely
thing is really coming into focus for me all of a sudden.
Yep.
I'm starting to see where it all comes from.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm proud of you.
Mullet, trailer.
It's a straight line.
It is. I mean,
the trajectory is perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you get the drift. But
all right. Well,
how long have we been doing this today?
1:15.
Oh,
Lord
wow.
God, that's way too long.
We can't even get into seatbelt laws. I was talking about, we were talking about traffic laws. I hate seatbelt laws. It's the most unconstitutional law ever, but maybe we can talk about it next time.
Well, we'll start next week with seatbelt laws and motorcycle helmet laws.
Hate them. Oh, my God.
Speed limits, those out the book. Child restraints, child safety seats.
No,
it's all got to go.
No.
Let the parent be free. Let them do as they
Oh,
will.
my God.
Yeah. Okay.
God bless the Constitution. All right.
Okay. Well, as always, we went on way too long, but I do appreciate everybody who actually listens. It amazes me that you do. as I say every week, but keep at it. We finally cracked 10. It's done. It's 2 minutes from being in the books. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
God bless America.